Legislator Del Vecchio Hoffman, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Are we good? Yeah. Okay, the July 29th, 2024 meeting of the Environment and Public Works Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Bonnick? Ms. Bonnick is present. Ms. Del Vecchio Hoffman?
Present.
Ms. Del Vecchio Hoffman is present. Chairwoman Hugh Smith?
Here.
Chairwoman Hugh Smith is present. Mr. Mafucci? Here. Mr. Mafucci is present. Ms. McIntyre? Present. Ms. McIntyre is present. Mr. Morris? Here. Mr. Morris is present. Mr. Sinclair? Here. Mr. Sinclair is present. President Rahman? Here. President Rahman is present.
Is there anyone signed up for the public forum?
No, there is not.
Is there anyone present who has not signed up to speak who would like to address the committee at this time? Seeing none, the next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. You have the June 24th, 2024 minutes of the Environment and Public Works Committee before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. The next item on the agenda is new business. Mr. Clerk.
Referral 24-0237, amend Resolution 155 of 2018 to expand the eligible priority geographic area and extend the time period of the grant from the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation for the state septic system replacement program.
Moved by Legislator Bonnick, seconded by Legislator Mafucci. Is there any discussion? Legislator Morris.
Through you to the administration, can you just explain how will the impact of extending the grant period through March 31st of 2027 be evaluated in terms of its effectiveness on having a positive impact on improving water quality in Monroe County?
Through the chair, this particular grant was not going to be ending soon. They did add extra time. The biggest thing for this grant is they added additional areas to the eligible places that could be going to it. We have not been able to use the funding as much as we would want to because not as many places are eligible.
So just a follow-up question through you, Madam Chair. So extending the time frame, is that affected by did the expansion of the geographic area contribute to the interest in wanting to do that? Or is the extension of time something separate that there's an expectation of measuring its effectiveness on extending it?
So the extension of the time is not what is evaluated on the effectiveness of it. It's how many properties we can use. So the $150,000 that we have for this, the amount didn't change. We've only spent $37,000 plus in the 7 years that we've had it because of we have a lot of places on sewer, right? So it can only work on places that are within these 250 feet of a water body and are replacing their septic systems. So the time really doesn't have it's not the level that it's measured for.
Thank you. Just a follow-up question through you again, Madam Chair, to the administration. I am familiar with how grants work and reimbursement procedures and all that, but can you just explain with this particular one why the reimbursements to Monroe County property owners come after the work is completed? So it's effectively like most where you're paying for it, you're getting the project done, and then after all that, then the reimbursement comes in, as opposed to supporting the project with these grant monies as it's progressing? I think you had it.
Through the chair, this is not a grant where we have control over that. This is a statewide grant, and it's just to our area, so it's how they've set up at New York State, the grant funder, how they have set that up. And the money goes directly to the homeowner.
They front the money, submit project completion, whatever documents the state wants, and then they'll get reimbursed.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Anybody else? Later, Sinclair.
Thank you, through the chair. Do we know an approximate number of septic tanks or systems that need replacement or repair in our watersheds?
Through the chair, we find out as they happen. So whether you are required to get a permit for any of those types of things. So contractors know that they have to get a permit through us. So they happen as you find a failure, water, the brown water seeping, or somebody's just going and replacing them. A lot of times they actually go through and get changed to sewer, right, which is not eligible for this grant. In this particular area, I can't give you the number that are in failure, because if they're in failure, then they're under us and we work with them to get them fixed. But for the total areas that are included for these water bodies, we have an estimated, because we don't know the exact number, of 854 homes on septic. Yeah, it's not many.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Then, through me, to you, how will the new property owners be made aware of this program?
So we will be going to local neighborhood associations, meetings, libraries, to provide information that way. Also, when somebody is getting their septic replaced, repaired through us, because they have to get the permit, we tell them right then that they're eligible, have them fill out the paperwork so that they can then get that reimbursement later.
Fantastic, thank you so much. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral number 24-0252, amend Resolution 102 of 2023 to increase the grant award from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation for Climate Smart Communities for the Organics Management Plan, and amend Resolution 508 of 2021 to increase the contract with Barton and Lagodis DPC for general solid waste consulting team services.
Moved by legislator Bonnet, seconded by legislator Mafucci. Is there any discussion?
Yes, ma'am, through the chair. What is the expected timeline for completing the organic management plan for the proposed increase in funding?
Through the chair, the proposed project is to go through the fourth quarter of 2025, and at which point we expect to have a plan that will be presented to the legislature with a resolution for adoption.
Thank you. And through the chair, how will the public be involved in the development and implementation of the organic management plan?
So as part of the grant, there is extensive community engagement that's required as part of this. There is a plan, a community engagement plan that the team is working on that has to be submitted to the DEC for review and approval. It will include communication avenues such as developing a website, having public meetings, having surveys with community members. We anticipate there'll be a lot of discussion with municipalities, with community organizations, and with individual residents as well throughout this process.
Thank you.
Through the chair. It is my understanding that we're a part of the Climate Smart Communities and that we are at the bronze level currently?
Through the chair, that is correct.
Perfect. Through the chair, how much grant funding have we received through this program?
Through the chair, this grant, the referral before you is for a grant award of $100,000. We've also received or been awarded 98,000 and change as it relates to the Climate Action Plan. We also received a $250,000 grant for the Community Rating System project. And we also have grants that are in preparation that will come before the legislature for adoption, for acceptance for the Climate Vulnerability Assessment and Climate Adaptation Plan that I believe totals around 175,000, I believe.
So through the chair, if I'm to understand, altogether, including those that are forthcoming, it's a little under $750,000?
It's something in that range, correct?
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Through me to you, could you elaborate on the details of the organics management plan? Will they be considering, there's been a change in state law regarding diversion of waste from facilities creating 2 tons to 1 ton, and later it'll go down to half a ton. Will that be reflected in the work of the entity we've contracted with?
To you, the chair. There are 10 elements that are included in the grant process for this particular action item under the Climate Smart Communities program. One of those action items is research, and research into relevant laws and regulations is a part of that. So I do anticipate that any changes that may come about as it relates to food waste generators and any data that needs to be collected will be part of the analysis.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral number 24-0253, adoption of the Monroe County Climate Action Plan Phase 2.
Moved by legislator Bonix, seconded by legislator Mafucci. Is there any discussion? Senator McIntyre.
Through the chair, is the administration aware of the comptroller report that came out on, I believe it was July 17th, but July of 2024, saying that New York State needs to reassess the Climate Act and moving forward, because at the moment they have not, and to quote it here, the PSC is using outdated data and at times incorrect calculations for planning processes, and has not started to address all current and emerging issues that could significantly increase electricity demand and lower projected generation. Is the administration and all that were involved in this aware of those changes that were requested by the comptroller for the state levels in July of 2024?
At this time, through the chair, at this time, we are not aware of the information that you referenced, but we will look into it.
Thank you. And through the chair, I bring this up because a great deal of this plan is focused on, well, moving to electricity, as are most climate plans. And specifically, there is a great focus on the emissions from automobiles and transportation. And currently, it is to my understanding that parts of the grid in Monroe County are already outdated and need a great deal of work. For example, in Henrietta, there was an outage on the 23rd of June for 13,000 homes, or sorry, 1,300 homes, sorry. I'm wondering why the plan focuses so much on electric vehicles, and there's absolutely no mention to other kinds of lower emission vehicles. For example, vehicles that, taking existing vehicles and adapting them for things like propane or methane or other forms of lower emissions fuels. So I'm wondering why those are not even mentioned in this plan.
Through the chair, there are 115 action items in the plan, so clearly the plan doesn't include every possible action item that could be undertaken. We recognize that, to your specific point, within the transportation sector, there are alternatives, and we've highlighted some of those alternatives as it relates to actions that community partners are already taking. For example, RTS is transitioning to hydrogen for their bus fleet. So we recognize there are technologies that may help us achieve that goal. This plan is not supposed to be set in stone so that once it's adopted, we won't deviate from the plan. We understand this plan will be constantly refreshed and reevaluated based upon the technologies and the progress that is made to things such as the supporting infrastructure through the electric grid. As we go through that journey, we will update the plan and we will take comments and suggestions from the community as we work through this. The idea here is to really just to put together a guiding framework for a lot of those individual actions that the county and community partners within the county have already taken to kind of align with a specific goal. So to give essentially a purpose and a vision for people to get around allows us to have conversations like these about, okay, well, we think that this may work, this might not work. Let's look for other solutions that we can kind of bake into the next time we look at this plan again. And to reiterate, I think we mentioned for the phase 1 plan that we would be looking at updating the greenhouse gas inventory every 5 years. And at that time, we would also take a look at the implementation actions and look at other actions that we need to include, revamp, eliminate, because we have new information now that helps us make better decisions.
And through the chair, it is my understanding that we are completing a phase 2 of the Climate Action Plan because of some of these state regulations. Is that correct, in the Climate Act?
Part of the goal is to align ourselves so that we are ready to address state mandates when they come down.
And through the chair, it is to my understanding that the state itself continues to push for electric, even though these other systems, it would be a simple change to the wording by saying that they are incentivizing other low emissions alternatives, especially those that would not overwhelm the grid, but they seem to continually push for electric. Is that correct?
I can't speak, through the chair, I can't speak for how the state is proposing to address their goals. I can say that for our plan, we're looking at all viable alternatives that makes it possible for us to achieve our goals.
But through the chair, there is a center here on EV vehicles, and there's no mention of anything else. Is there a reason? Again, it's kind of disappointing to see that it's constantly electric that's being pushed, especially with the issues that are coming up with electric.
Through the chair, the action item is to provide information to the community for things that the community members have responded to us and said, we'd like to see more information about electric vehicles and other types of technologies. It's not meant to be saying that if something is omitted from this plan, that it doesn't mean it will be considered.
Also, through the chair, when it comes to, I see some of the water, using gray water and all of these other things. I don't see any mention of doing testing for things like microplastics that I find very concerning in our water and in our soil, that I do believe have an environmental detriment. Is there any, at this point, within the climate groups that we have in Monroe County, is there any move to do testing to see if things like plastics, especially I pick up trash once a week with a group of volunteers in my area, and we find so many plastics in the soil. Is there any push, instead of focusing on regulating agriculture, which seems to be 1% of our emissions, is there any push at all? I see no mention of the microplastics in the water or soil. Is there going to be any push in this direction when it comes to environmental issues?
Through the chair, this plan is, as you know, is focused on the Climate Action Plan and the greenhouse gas emissions. We are also looking at other environmental issues such as microplastics and other contaminants in our waterways and in our other areas within our community. We partner with local institutions like RIT to look at the effect of microplastics that are getting into our waterways. So it's not work that's being forgotten. We're doing it. It's just in addition to the work that we're talking about here with the Climate Action Plan.
and also through the chair, I see an encouragement of bike riding, which I love personally. But there are vast areas of what we're doing as far as encouraging people to use bicycles that are not really encouraging people to use bicycles. And I don't see that addressed here. Is there a way in the future that this can be addressed through some of our climate initiatives?
Through the chair, could you elaborate a little bit on some of the concerns you're looking at?
Yes. So as someone who bike rides frequently, I've seen the push on the part of Monroe County, for example, Long Pond Road. They just they drew the lines on the road for bicycles, which is wonderful. It expands it a little bit, but as a bike rider, it does not make me feel safe enough to use my bicycle as a form of transport because of the way that people are driving right now. So even though we are taking action and we're using the county money to take these actions to encourage cleaner modes of transportation like bicycles, which is wonderful, I don't know if those are actually effective if we're not making some sort of a barrier. It's just a line on the road at the moment. So within all of this, while we're focusing on things like electric and other things that I've brought up, it doesn't seem like we're taking action to actually move to using bicycles and green forms of those are very green forms of transportation. So is there any, in the revision of this, will there be any time that we look into promoting more bicycle riding rather than electric vehicles and other things that are not, these are no emission transportations? I hope I'm being clear. I know I've said a lot.
Through the chair, so your concerns are noted. The Climate Action Plan works within a planning framework with other plans that the county is developing, as you're aware of, for example, the Alternative Transportation Plan. So where there are plans which are better placed to speak about issues like that, the Climate Action Plan gives deference to those plans, and we make reference to those plans. We won't necessarily duplicate the information that's provided in those plans, because I believe that those plans will speak better to those things. I don't know.
Through the chair, there's only a little bit more to add. That is, the Monroe County DOT is also working to implement the countywide active transportation plan, specifically looking at the way they design roads to make them safer for all users. And so that is something that is forthcoming at this time.
Thank you so much. And finally, at the very end of the document, again, some of the funding opportunities and grant opportunities are cited. How many grants that the county has received can we attribute to the Climate Action Plan in both of its phases, or at least in phase one that has been out for a while? How much money has the county received because we are adhering to the Climate Action Plan?
Through the chair, we have not had an opportunity to really delve into implementation funding yet for the phase one plan. Obviously, the phase two plan hasn't been adopted yet. So we are looking constantly for opportunities as it aligns with other priorities that we have within the county, such as our capital improvements plan.
But through the chair, what benefits have we already seen from phase one of this Climate Action Plan? I guess that's what I'm asking. And I'm asking that from a fiscal perspective.
Through the chair, so for example, some of the implementation actions that we've undertaken as part of phase one is to expand our electric vehicle charging infrastructure. We are looking to purchase hybrid and electric vehicles for our fleet, for example, so reducing our emissions through those kinds of activities.
Okay, I yield. Thank you.
Legislator Morris.
Madam Chair, to the administration, just following up on the comment that was made by the administration about the Department of Transportation looking into different options when either rehabilitating or rebuilding a road and factoring in different types of bike lanes or whatever. I'm assuming that what we'll also know or be able to get some information on is I'm getting off a little bit the beaten path here, but a cost analysis of, okay, if we, rebuilt this road the way that we would do it for many, many years that we've done it would be this much, and here's the cost of what that would be if we were to try to build in certain additional types of infrastructures that normally or previously weren't built in the road as it relates to bike, pedestrian, or things like that. I guess that might be more of a, I guess, a request or whatever for when that topic does come up, that we could get that information.
Through the chair, that's information that I think would be best provided by DOT. So we can provide follow-up information to that question.
Thank you. And my other questions, again, through you, Madam Chair, to the administration. The plan includes educational campaigns and community engagement to support its initiatives. How will the effectiveness of these campaigns be measured, and what strategies will be used to reach diverse communities and ensure widespread participation?
Through the chair, through the development of the Phase 2 plan, we held a number of public meetings, reached out to the community at multiple venues, both in person, virtually, using a number of different tools. We anticipate that we will continue to utilize those tools and deepen the relationships that we have with community partners, be they municipalities, businesses, organizations, to help spread our message. We do collect information about people, for example, the number of attendees at our events, meetings, comments that we've received, and we look at those very closely in determining whether or not our messaging is effective.
Again, through you, Madam Chair, to the administration, this may be following up on what legislator McIntyre had mentioned about the comptroller's report, but how accurate are the climate projections used in the CAP, and what is the margin of error? Given the uncertainties in climate modeling, how does the plan account for potential inaccuracies?
Through the chair, we use the information that we have used to develop for the inventory through the organization known as ICLEI, and we use the information that they get from their latest projections, which I believe come through the IPCC. So as much as we don't have the capacity to do enough of that research at the local level, we rely on our partners to be able to provide information like that. As the information sets change and are updated, we anticipate that that will be included, and that's why it's important for us to update our inventory with new information every 5 years.
Final question, follow-up to that, through you, Madam Chair, to the administration. So that information in data set, is there a particular year that that's most current, or month in a year? What are we working off of, I guess, is my question.
So for right now, the inventory that we have is based on a 2019 baseline.
2019? I yield, Madam Chair.
There's Sinclair.
Sure, why not? Through the chair. The plan projects economic benefits such as job creation for the green sector. What is the evidence that these jobs will be sustainable and not just temporary or heavily subsidized? Historically, we've seen that those jobs really don't stay around very long.
Through the chair, we don't have a crystal ball to see how the economy might change 20, 30 years from now. We do know that there have been jobs created in the green energy sector, for example, jobs for solar installations, for heat pump replacements. We worked with, as we developed the plan, we talked with businesses, installers, people who have both done the work and created jobs for their employees through that, and also worked with and talked with developers and partners that have employed those companies to help assist that work.
Any other discussion? Mafucci.
Person, I just want to make sure, after all the questions, which I found very interesting, by the way. By the way, I really like the pun, sustainable. It's right in the climate action plan. My question is this: it seems the action plan really is a living document that changes. It's flexible. Would that be an accurate statement?
Through the chair, that is the intent.
Is there any other discussion? All right, I would like to issue just some brief remarks. I'd like to thank the administration and County Executive Bello for moving forward in the development of a climate action plan. Let's not forget that we are in a state of crisis globally, with carbon levels increased by 50% since the start of the Industrial Revolution, which is a profound, significant change. Geologically speaking, there have been periods of time in our Earth's history where a 2 degrees centigrade temperature change has caused a 6 degrees temperature rise in just a matter of decades. We need to act quickly, and having a plan that offers guidance for people in making their decisions is certainly welcomed and meaningful. Legislator McIntyre, I do appreciate, if I may use your name, I do appreciate your noting that the comptroller has been very critical of the Public Service Commission, as well he should be, because they have yet to issue a single regulation to bring us in alignment with the state law, the climate law, and we have to do better as a society. So I welcome his criticism. I welcome the Public Service Commission actually doing their job, and the utilities moving much faster in deploying the needed changes to our grid. Though I will note that the New York System's independent system operator has even analyzed that we have more than enough grid capacity moving to electrification, both in transportation and building heating, well into 2030 before we have any issues. So let's get moving, let's go quickly, and again, thank you to the staff for all their help on this plan. Anybody else? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye? No. Oh, please.
So, as most people know, I've been very, very invested in the Climate Smart Communities program, being a Climate Smart Communities Task Force coordinator for my town as a volunteer, volunteering my time to this program. And my town and the district that I live in, we've made great strides when it comes to becoming more environmentally friendly as a community. I really, really appreciate that this was put together by a bipartisan committee, and that the people involved have done their best to make this plan for a very diverse community and thousands of people. And it's very difficult to make a document that can satisfy an entire county. That being said, there are aspects of this particular plan that my residents have I've made sure my residents had it. I wanted them to have every opportunity to give me feedback. I have received so far somewhere between 50 and 100 comments on this plan, and the overwhelming majority expressed concerns about some of the specifics that I had discussed when we had a general overview of this plan, and that was the page, I believe it was page 48, strategy 4, exploring the benefits of multi-family housing zoning in currently single-family zoned areas. My town feels the town of Gates, because it's Gates and Greece, but I'm very sure that the residents of Greece also feel this way because they've said so. I know that in the town of Gates, there is a very, very, very strong opinion about creating more multifamily housing units in areas that are zoned as single family. And although I understand that this plan is just a suggestion, the majority of my residents would be very, very angry with me if I okayed that as a suggestion. They have been very clear about expressing this to me. I have a number of emails and messages about this specific point. And it's one point in a 90-page document, I do understand that, but it's something that they feel very strongly about, including for projects that the town has okayed. I have a meeting on Wednesday night that the residents are going to for what was zoned as single family and is going to become multifamily. So I know how strong they feel about it, how strongly they feel about it. And so as much as I support many of the actions that are here to make our air and our water and our soil cleaner and respect the incredible amount of work that was put in by this bipartisan committee, and everyone that I know and like very much on the Environmental Management Council and the Department environmental services. I will be voting no on this because that is what my residents would want me to do.
Anyone else like to explain their vote? As a last point of clarity to the administration, the county does not have the authority to tell towns or other municipalities how to zone. Is that correct?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Roll call vote.
Ms. Bonnick? Ms. Bonnick votes yes. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman?
Yes.
Delvecchio Hoffman votes yes. Mr. Mafucci? Mr. Mafucci votes yes. Ms. McIntyre? Ms. McIntyre votes no. Mr. Morris? Mr. Morris votes no. Mr. Sinclair? Mr. Sinclair votes no. Chairwoman Hugh Smith?
Yes.
Chairwoman Hugh Smith votes yes. President Roman? President Roman votes yes. 5-3, referral passes.
Thank you. Next item.
Referral 24-0259, classification of action and determination of significance pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act for the First Genesis Rochester Management Single Family Homes Project in the city of Rochester.
Moved by Legislator Bonnick, seconded by Legislator Mafucci. Is there any discussion? Legislator Morris.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to the administration, what are the qualifications to be able to purchase one of these single-family homes?
Through the chair, the eligibility for purchase is income-based. We can get that exact percentage to you in writing.
Thank you. And then one more question through you, Madam Chair, to the administration. Why did this come in to us through as an MOI as opposed to a regular process?
Through the chair, the seeker regulations require the agency to undertake the seeker review prior to undertaking the underlying action. The underlying action that this refers to, I believe, is 24-0260, and therefore seeker has to be completed before taking up the next resolution. I'm sorry, the next referral.
So then just to follow up there through you, Madam Chair, there's a time frame or a deadline, a final deadline, and that's why we're moving a little quicker on this?
Through the chair, yes, this goes with the accompanying referral of 24-0260.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Legislator Mafucci?
Well, my question really isn't connected to the seeker part of this. In the referral, it says the single-family homes will be sold. Those homes are sold. Where will the
Through the chair, this is one piece of funding to help subsidize the construction. The sale of the parcels will go to the developer of the project.
Is there any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. Item carries. Are there any other matters to come before this committee? There being no other matters, the July 29th, 2024 meeting of the Environment and Public Works Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Environment and Public Works Committee will be held on Monday, August 26, 2024 at 5.